And we got an election on Tuesday, and we're all kind of on pins and needles about that. We did a couple of shows on election hacking and that kind of thing, which you can watch on our website, TWiT.tv. It's our triangulation show, TWiT.tv/TRI. And I've also interviewed some of the people from a website called verifiedvoting.org. And their goal, about maybe 14, 15 years ago, we were moving in this direction that I think was a bad direction towards these direct entry voting machines. They were very high tech, touch screens, and you'd vote and you'd touch the screen, and there were issues with them. There were a number of issues with them. And, sometimes I think people think, oh, you're the tech guy. You should be, everything tech should be, you want to make the world high tech. Well, sometimes no. Sometimes no, and these voting machines were problematic for a couple of reasons. If they weren't perfectly aligned, you could be touching one button and it could record another vote. And that happens a lot. A technician has to come in and align them. The company Diebold that was making them didn't do a great job. They had problems with bad vote counts in one election in Volusia County. I think it was in Nevada. And they blamed, get this, the McAfee antivirus on the voting machine. I don't know about you, but if a voting machine needs an antivirus, that's a problem. And then they blamed the bad count on the antivirus. That's even, like the antivirus could do that? That's not good. There was a documentary produced in 2006 on this, Hacking Democracy? And there was a professor in Princeton who actually got in trouble for reverse engineering the Diebold machines. Diebold sued him for violating the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. That's secret stuff. You're not supposed to look at that. Ed Felton. Nevertheless, it came out that these machines were eminently hackable. And this was the key, they didn't produce a paper trail of any kind. They were deemed a risk, and they're mostly phased out. They're still used in a few states. I think New Jersey, Georgia, and Louisiana still use some sort of direct voting machine. But most other states in the country, and probably where you vote, it could be electronic, but there is a paper. This is what all the experts say. There needs to be a paper trail. So where I vote, we get one of those, those exam. Remember when you're taking the exams as a kid, you'd do number 2 pencil in the little thing, and then the machine would count it. But there was a piece of paper that a human could look at and compare with the electronic total. And that's true in most cases. Even with direct voting machines, they spit out a little receipt. And the key here is that you look at the paper and you look at what your vote is and you see if they match. And then, and this is what verifiedvoting.org is lobbying for, and I think in many states this is starting to happen, there is an audit process that can go on. Not a full recount, but they can take a random sample of votes, compare them to the electronic total, and if the paper and the electronic votes match, that gives you some certainty that everything's working as planned. So between all of this, actually, elections have gotten much better in this country. They're much more reliable because they're a little lower tech. Now, you may have seen there's a little brouhaha going on because people are going, and it's already started, to the polls, and they're taking Snapchats and Instagrams, and they're tweeting their vote. Hey, look, I voted. I voted for Hillary. I voted for Donald. They're tweeting that as a way, of fun advocacy. Some states, that's illegal. In fact, many states are not allowed to bring your cell phone into the voting booth. And here's why. The issue is that if you were going to buy somebody's vote, here's $10 to vote the way I want you to vote, you would want some proof that that happened. So a picture of the ballot in the voting booth would be exactly what you'd want. So that's why that's considered illegal in some states. Simple. I think a lot of people are going to do it anyway. I doubt there'll be any prosecutions. When I talk to the experts, they're not so much worried about massive voter fraud because it would have to be massive to really throw an election, a national election anyway. More they're worried about, and this they say is a legitimate worry because we've seen it happening, the voter database is being hacked. And we've seen attempts by we think government actors to hack the voter databases. What would you do? Well, a couple of things you could do. You could say, take all the Republican votes and put those voters in a different district. So when they voted, they wouldn't be on the list when they showed up at the poll, or maybe their vote they'd get a provisional vote, which would later be disallowed. So that's a larger fear, is that somebody, and maybe another country that wants to influence our elections, or a candidate that doesn't want to lose, might do that, might mess with the voter databases. And actually, I think it's at last count, 40 states have asked the Department of Homeland Security to come in and help them secure the voter databases, to make sure that their computers are secure, that they're locked down, they're not hackable. And that's the biggest concern among computer experts, technology experts, and voting experts at this point. There is a system. See, there's certain things a vote needs to be. Of course, it needs to be accurate. And all parties involved, the voter and the candidates, need to have confidence that the vote is properly recorded. So at the end of the day, everybody can say, well, it was fair. That's really important. You also have, those are the three things. The kind of a secondary thing is you want it to be fairly quick. You don't want this to drag on for months, right? You'd like to get those results fairly quickly. That's one of the reasons people have looked at electronic voting. What everybody agrees is that online voting, and that might seem convenient, right? The idea. We do have some online voting for people overseas, military and so forth. But online voting is not what any computer expert, technology expert, or voting expert believes should be happening, because it's, as we know, it's a mess online. It's eminently hackable. So it's a fascinating subject. If you want to know more, verifiedvoting.org. It's a nonpartisan site talking about this, and it's a fascinating subject. The good news is we've made really significant progress.